2,000 years and is rich in Indigenous history. This land is the ancestral and unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe Nation. We are grateful to the Algonquin ancestors who cared for the land and water in order that we might meet here today. We're also grateful to the Algonquin people for their contribution in the making of the Rideau Canal, which runs through Smiths Falls. We are mindful of broken covenants and the need to reconcile with all our relations. Together, may we care for this land and each other, drawing on the strength of our mutual history of nation building through peace and friendship, and being mindful of generations to come. I'll call this meeting to order. I've got a couple of announcements today. I just want to take a moment and talk about one of our favorite citizens, Brooke Henderson. And those who pay attention in the golf world will know that Brooke's been off to a really hot start so far in 2022. And most recently, March 13th, at the Honda LPGA Thailand, she finished fourth. And that was her 4th out of 5 top 10 finishes so far in 2022. The highlight so far would be her 2nd place finish at the Hilton Grand Vacations Tournament of Champions, January 20th. And Brooke is also sitting 2nd overall in the race to CME Globe this season. And I believe she's got a tournament upcoming this weekend. So let's all have best wishes for Brooke and Brittany as they continue off in this journey, and wish them nothing but the best of success. Also, I have a proclamation to make today. Today, March 21st, is the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. Whereas the town of Smiths Falls is committed to the belief that equal opportunity and treatment should exist for all people, and whereas every person has the right to realize their potential, regardless of race, color, national, or ethnic origin, and to live at all times in conditions of dignity, respect, and peace. And whereas racial discrimination is a universal issue that divides communities and threatens the political, social, economic, and cultural foundations on which our cities and towns are built. Whereas the General Assembly of the United Nations has designated March 21st as the International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination. And whereas the elimination of racism and racial discrimination can be accomplished through understanding and respect for the dignity of all people, and as a social and moral responsibility of each person. Whereas Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smiths Falls approved the formation of its Racism and Discrimination Task Force to understand local realities and to develop a plan to foster inclusion and to increase trust, loyalty, and respect within the community by promoting greater equality and inclusion. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Sean Panko, Mayor of the Town of Smiths Falls, do hereby proclaim March 21st, 2022 as International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination in the Town of Smiths Falls. Moving on, I'll ask for disclosure of monetary interest. I see none. We have no adoption of minutes this evening. I'm sure we probably have some council reports. I'll look for a show of hands, starting with Councillor Allen, please.
Yes, Railway Museum of Eastern Ontario presents the first train ride excursion of 2022 season, the Easter Express 2022, on Saturday, April 16th. Come celebrate Easter and the arrival of spring at the Railway Museum of Eastern Ontario at Smiths Falls. In Smiths Falls, enjoy a one-of-a-kind historical railway experience. Your ticket of $11.25 entitles you to a caboose ride on the Easter Express on the Rideau Valley Short Line, Canada's shortest railway. As a bonus, Countryside Petting Farm will be there set up in the museum. Your train ride ticket includes access to the petting zoo. Pony rides are also available directly to Countryside Petting Farm. You can find them on Facebook if you wish to look at this ahead, or you can get your tickets on Eventbrite. So I hope to see a lot of people there. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Any additional reports? Yes, Councillor McKenna.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wanted to let the public know that Lanark County Housing has opened. Housing is such an important topic these days. They have opened over 20 units in the town of Carleton Place, brand new, a lot of one-bedroom units. Over 20 people are coming off the housing waiting list and moving into that beautiful new building in Carleton Place. There'll be an official opening coming up in the next couple of weeks. So we're just delighted to, there is some good news on the housing front. It's not It's not all there yet, but we're on the right track.
Thank you. Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you. Just a quick one on behalf of the Rideau Environmental Action League. So a couple exciting things are happening again down at Real, particularly as we start to get back to a new normal. The Journey to Sustainability subcommittee of Real has started again with their online presentations about topics of interest. They're highly, highly interesting. They've had presentations in the past about reduction of food waste and sustainable energy. There was a recent one on biochar, which ties into some nice work that they're actually doing with Vanessa Bernanke in the Waste Management Department about looking at a potential biochar station up at the compost site. And I understand they've also been talking to the fire department, and that's something we'll be coming forward to council in the near future for some guidance on that. So if you're interested in learning more through Journey to Sustainable Growth, I'd encourage you to go to the Real Environmental website and sign up for the newsfeed, because you can get on the mail list and find out the topics that are upcoming, and then Zoom details as well if you'd like to participate. Real has also noticed that in the last couple months, and perhaps as people start to go back to work and spend less time at home, the donations are a little bit low compared to other parts of the year. So just a reminder that Real is always taking reused furniture for all sorts of purposes. Anything really under the sun can be accepted there. So if you have interest in donating as part of your spring cleaning, please reach out to Real. They do also offer delivery service and pickup. So if you need some assistance in donating your material, give them a call and they'd be happy to facilitate. I think that's it for now. But as always, go down, take a look, and especially as the butterfly garden starts to come into bloom as the snow melts, it's always a great pleasure to go see the site.
Great, thank you. Any further reports? Yes, Councillor Alford.
Thank you, Worship. Just two really quick ones. Just a reminder that this Thursday at 5 o'clock will be the comprehensive zoning bylaw review. It will be available as our other PAC meetings are. That starts at 5 o'clock. And also just to let everyone know that construction season is approaching for phase 2. The Downtown Business Association is working very closely with both Public Works and ECDEV to prepare for that, that project, much anticipated.
Thank you. Anything further? Just a couple of reports myself. Last week, March 16th, the Housing Advisory Committee met once again, continues to make positive steps forward. A delegation from Simcoe County, which in many ways has led the way province-wide in the development of more affordable housing. So we were able to sort of learn some best practices and learn from them sort of what has worked the best, what has maybe not been as productive. Really help reinforce the steps that we are taking, and it also, of course, helped us understand the further work that we need to do at the county, and a report on housing will be coming forward at the county in early April. And then this morning, our Climate Action Committee had a fairly lengthy discussion on priorities and action plan, and that we weren't able to finish the topic today, so they'll be going forward at a next meeting. And I think subsequent to that, there'll be a report coming to County Council for further discussion and hopefully adoption of a number of the key priorities, both corporate and community related. And that's it for my reports. We have a number of bylaws this evening. Our first is with Councillor Dwyer, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that a bylaw to delegate council's authority as per section 275 sub 3 of the Municipal Act to the Chief Administrative Officer Malcolm Morris for the period of August 19th, 2022 and October 24th, 2022 and October 24th, 2022 to November 14th, 2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to delegate council's authority as per section 275 in brackets 3 of the Municipal Act to Chief Administrative Officer Malcolm Morris for the period of August 19th, 2022, and October 4th, 2022, October 24th, 2022, and November 14th, 2022 be received, read a first time, and taken as read a second time. All in favor? This carried. Discussion, Councillor Dwyer.
Thank you, Mayor Pankow. So every election season, the Council of Municipality has the option to elect to delegate certain powers under the Municipal Act to a member of staff to ensure that there's continuity in operation. Delegated authority for this lame duck provision applies when there is not confidence that there is a returning majority of current council. So if the case is that not a quorum of council is running, or that there's a chance that not that quorum is elected because there are more people in the running, then the lame duck provision comes into force and effect. The second period occurs after election day. If indeed there is not a quorum returning to take seat in office in December, then the provision would also apply.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Thank you. That a bylaw to delegate, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to delegate council's authority as per section 275 sub 3 of the Municipal Act to Chief Administrative Officer Malcolm Morris for the period of August 19th, 2022 to October 24th, 2022, and October 24th, 2022 to November 14th, 2022 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10320-2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Dwyer, seconded by Councillor Brennan. That bylaw to delegate council's authority as per section 275(3) of the Municipal Act to Chief Administrative Officer Malcolm Morris for the period of August 19th, 2022 and October 24th, 2022, October 24th, 2022, and November 14th, 2022. We now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10320-2022. All in favor? And that is carried. Thank you. Councillor Alford, you have the next bylaw.
Thank you, Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to amend a comprehensive zoning bylaw number 6080-94 of the town of Smiths Falls respecting 169 Chambers Street to rezone the property from local commercial C2 zone to residential type 4 special exception RX4X be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Alford, second by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw number 6080-94 of the town of Smiths Falls respecting 169 Chambers Street to rezone the property from the local commercial C2 zone to residential type 4 special exception R4-X be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Alford?
Yes, Your Worship, this would be at the end, just before the subway going out Chambers Street. Many old timers in town would refer to it as Dewey's. It's had several iterations since the Dewey's owned it, but this allows for residential to be developed on the first floor. There is currently one unit on the second floor. This will allow for 2 units on the main floor, and also to develop an ancillary residence at the back of that property. Again, it's more infill for us in terms of residential in that neighborhood or in Smiths Falls. And again, another good news story about more housing being added to the housing stock.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw 6080-94 of the town of Smiths Falls respecting 169 Chambers to rezone the property from the local commercial C2 zone to residential type 4 special exception R4-X be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10321-2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Alford, second by Councillor Brennan, the bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw number 6080-94 of the town of Smith Falls respecting 169 Chamber Street to rezone the property from the local commercial C2 zone to residential type 4 special exception R4-X. Be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10321-2022. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Brennan, do you have our next bylaw?
I do. Thank you very much. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a funding agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, seconded by Councillor Alford. The bylaw to authorize execution of a funding agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks be now be received, read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? Let's carry. Discussion. Councillor Brennan?
Yeah. We had this good news last committee of the whole, and this is funding we're receiving from the province, thankfully, of $175,324, which is going to help us improve the monitoring and the public reporting of sewage outflows and bypasses. And we had some information that we have a number of those incidents. And this is going to help us improve the way we report on that and hopefully in the future reduce those incidences. So thank you to the province for the money.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, maybe a third reading, please.
Thank you. Moved by myself, second by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to authorize execution of a funding agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10323-2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor Alford. The bylaw to authorize execution of a funding agreement with Her Majesty the Queen in Right of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10323-2022. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Councillor Allen, you have the next bylaw.
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that a bylaw to authorize a local improvement charge respecting the Maple Ridge subdivision, Wood Avenue Phase 2 be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Brennan, that a bylaw to authorize a local improvement charge respecting the Maple Ridge subdivision, Wood Avenue Phase 2 be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Allen?
Yes, this is recommending to council that we pass a bylaw.
Oh, Councillor Allen, you are muted.
Sorry about that. Start again. This recommends to council that we pass a bylaw for local improvement charges to be collected from the property owners of the non-developer owned lots fronting Phase 2 of the Wood Avenue extension of the Maplewood subdivision. This local improvement charge enables the municipality to apply interest costs to payment plans in order to recover costs of servicing improvements that have been done and will be done.
Thank you. Any further discussion? May I have a third reading, please?
Yes, moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Brennan that a bylaw to authorize a local improvement charge respecting the Maple Ridge subdivision, Wood Avenue Phase 2 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10323-2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Allen, second by Councillor Brennan. The bylaw to authorize a local improvement charge respecting the Maple Ridge subdivision, Wood Avenue Phase 2 be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10323-2022. All in favor? And that too is carried. Thank you. And Councillor McKenna, you have our final bylaw.
Yes, thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Wendy Alford that a bylaw to adopt a development charges bylaw for the corporation of the town of Smith Falls be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna, second by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to adopt a development charges bylaw to the corporation of the town of Smith Falls be received and read a first time and taken as read a second time. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. Yes, may I have the discussion, please, Councilor McKenna? Oh, sorry.
Yes, Your Worship,
Yes, please.
since 1997. Since 1997, with the adoption of a provincial act, municipalities have had the option of adding development charges to the revenue sources. Smith Falls is one of the last municipalities of our size in Eastern Ontario to do this. Council identified it as a priority. This council identified it as a priority over 3 years ago, and a report was commissioned. Hempson Consulting was hired. There's a very sophisticated process to the municipality had to go through. It's taken over a year to reach this point tonight. And quite simply, development charges, new development, housing, apartment buildings, factories, etc., that are being built add pressure on municipal services. And as a result of that, municipalities, and as this bylaw points out, and I encourage the public to read it, it allows us to actually add an additional cost, a development charge, to pay for things such as libraries, police services, fire services, the engineering of some roads and highways in our municipality. The bylaw goes on to, we've exempted some development, such as hospitals, hospices, and places of worship, so they don't have to pay those kind of development charges. The town stands to, we've set a date to start collecting these charges of June 1st, and it's a fairly standard process. The way we charge it is across the board, depending on the type of development. So the town has gone through a very elaborate public process to arrive at this point. It's a sound document. The bylaw is sound, and I'm absolutely delighted to bring it forward to council and to the public tonight for consideration.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I don't see any further discussion. Actually, I will ask that for a recorded vote on this, please. Okay, third reading, please.
Okay, that moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Wendy Alford, that a bylaw to adopt a development charges bylaw for the corporation of the town of Smith Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, and sealed and numbered 10324-2022.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor McKenna, seconded by Councillor Alford, that a bylaw to adopt a development charges bylaw for the corporation of the town of Smith Falls be now read a third time and finally passed, signed, sealed, and numbered 10324-2022. A recorded vote has been requested. Our clerk, Carrie Costello, is here to call a vote.
Thank you, Mayor Panko. If members of council could either reply with yay or nay regarding bylaw 10324-2022. Councillor Allen,
Yay.
Councillor Alfred,
Yay.
Councillor Brennan,
Yay.
Councillor Dwyer,
Nay.
Councillor McKenna,
Yay.
Councillor McGuire,
Yay.
and Mayor Panko.
Yay.
Carried.
Thank you. That's it for our bylaws. We have a few motions tonight. First is with Councillor McGuire.
Thank you, Your Worship. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenna, the Council of the Corporation of the Town of Smith Falls deem the property known as 4-30 Robinson Avenue, Smith Falls, Plan 13844, Lot 63, Lot 44, Lot 45, Lot 64, Lot 65, Lot 66, a surplus to the needs of the Town of Smith Falls.
Thank you. Discussion, Councillor?
So this is the site of a fire in 2016, April 2016. It's at the corner of Victoria Avenue and Robinson Avenue. The town has acquired the property through the tax process. And now, according to our regulate the sale of municipally owned real property bylaw, we are moving to sell the property. So thank you to Director Costello for the work that went into this file.
Thank you. Any further discussion? It's moved by Councillor McGuire, second by Councillor McKenna. The Council of the Corporation of Town of Smith Falls deemed the property known as 4 to 30 Robinson Avenue, Smith Falls, Plan 13884, Lot 63, Part Lot 44, Part Lot 45, Part Lot 64, Part Lot 65, Part Lot 66, as surplus to the needs of the Town of Smith Falls. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And Councillor Dwyer, we have you up next.
Thank you. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Allen that Christopher Cummings be appointed to the Smith Falls Public Library Board for the remainder of the 2018 to 2022 term of council.
Yeah, thank you. Discussion, Councillor Dwyer?
Thank you. As most people are aware, Councillor Cummings was a long-serving councillor of the town of Smith Falls. He retired from being a councillor in the last election, but he has very considerately given his service back to us by agreeing to volunteer for the library board. I believe in his term as a councillor, he sat on the library board for consecutive terms. I think much to Councillor Allen's chagrin. So now you both have a seat on the board. Congratulations. We're thrilled to have him back.
Great, thank you. Any further discussion? Moved by Councillor Dwyer, second by Councillor Allen, that Christopher Cummings be appointed to the Smith Falls Public Library Board for the remainder of the 2018-2022 term of council. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And Councillor Brennan, you have the final motion.
Thank you. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that an itemized statement of remuneration and expenses attached to Schedule A, paid to each councillor and committee member for the year 2021 pursuant to the Municipal Act Section 284 as amended, be received and filed.
Thank you. Discussion, Councillor Brennan?
This is an annual thing that we do, and councillors are paid a stipend, and then any expenses out of pocket related to that are reimbursed. In a normal year, some of us should be attending conferences, FCM and provincial conferences like Good Roads, to interact with our municipal colleagues across Ontario and Canada. But and since the pandemic, we've been unable to do that, and so it's really low this year. But I would suggest for our councillor and future councillors to take advantage of that, because it really benefits you and your job. But these are very low this year, and so I guess it's a byproduct of the pandemic and maybe a little benefit for the taxpayer. But in normal times, it would be money well spent, in my view.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, moved by Councillor Brennan, second by Councillor McKenna, that the itemized statement of remuneration and expenses attached to Schedule A, paid to each councillor and committee member for the year 2021 pursuant to the Municipal Act Section 284 as amended, be received and filed. All in favor? That's carried. Inquiries or announcements? I've got one quickly before I think Councillor Dwyer has one as well. I'm just going to go ahead. Just to mention that Lanark County Interval House is hosting a Lanark County Public Forum, virtual forum tomorrow night from 6:30 to 8 on Zoom regarding the Countdown Project Smith Falls Community Mosaic, which will be, we had discussion on at last week's committee of the whole meeting. It's launched by Redefined Arts. The Countdown Public Art Project is an Ontario-wide initiative that works with communities to create monuments and public spaces to honor those affected by gender-based violence. So anyone interested in participating, you have to get registered ahead of time. If you go to eventbrite.ca, search for Countdown Project Smith Falls, you'll have an opportunity to register for that. Again, that's from 6:30 to 8 tomorrow evening. And Councillor Dwyer, I believe you have something as well.
I do. As always, I have my trusty Bible for the town of Smith Falls. And in honor of Women's Month, who can name the first Woman of the Year appointed by the town? Oh, I thought this was going to be too easy.
Councillor Alfred.
I'm just taking a shot in the dark. Margaret Graham.
That is correct. I know she's your favorite. So the book reads that in 1964, she was the first woman appointed as Woman of the Year, which I believe we are now referring to as Person of the Year. And they cited her qualifications for many years on the town council and the town board of education, her presidency of the local council of women, and work on the consumers board, whatever that was, and her activities in the Women's Auxiliary of St. John Anglican Church and Punamli chapter of the Imperial Order of Daughters of the Empire. Apparently, she also tried to run to be the first woman mayor in 1957 and lost.
She was also on the 1950 organizing committee for Old Home Week.
I've heard that somebody named a street after her, some town.
That's what I heard.
We'll have to reprint the book and add that in as a qualifier.
Yes, it's a bit dated now, but there's a lot of history since that. Thank you. Okay, motion for any further announcements, sorry? I see none. Motion for adjournment is with Councillor Alfred.
Yes, Your Worship, moved by myself, seconded by Councillor McKenna, that this council adjourn its proceedings at 5:34 p.m. and stands so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council.
Thank you. Moved by Councillor Alfred, second by Councillor McKenna. This council adjourns proceedings at 5:34 p.m. and stands so adjourned until the next duly called meeting of council. All in favor? We stand adjourned.